Artistic Gymnastics Championships, and it's the beam semi-finals. 16 qualify for the semis. The best 8 will go through to the final. And this girl, Nan Zhang of China, has been something of a star, qualifying in first place for the semis, both in the beam and on the floor. And Monica Phelps, who's with me, a former Olympic gymnast herself, now gymnastics coach in Bournemouth. This simply terrifies me, the beam.
Well, yes. It terrifies me too.
6 inches across, is it?
10 centimetres.
10 centimetres across, even smaller.
Yes.
And well, it's pretty spectacular.
And this is a spectacular kid. The Chinese have really got a great reputation on this discipline. Such pure physiological preparation. But when it comes to nerve of the big jumps and series, for a 16-year-old to produce this level of work is quite great. She's just been edged out of the asymmetric bar finals because of a poor start value, which I find a shame, because she was really in a class of her own. A different class to Corkina, but superb on asymmetric bars, so we won't be seeing her again on those, but we look forward to her performances on beam and floor. Difficult draw, first person up. Round off straight back, and bang goes her chance of qualifying for the finals, unless the other 15 fall. But beautiful execution. Change leg, split into full twisting tuck jump on the first length. And the quality and the purity is quite outstanding. Full turn, which she must have. And of course, the better body preparation the gymnasts possess, by virtue of hard work and good physiology, the better chance they have of performing well. But she's just slid down the side of the beam and given herself a heavy bruise on that missed layout.
Warm applause from the crowd, getting back on. 9.625 her mark in qualifying, and I guess this is nerves. A combination of the difficult draw, as you say, and it's semi-final suddenly.
But we've got to remember that she's only 16, and she won't be expected to medal in this event. This World Championships to her and to her nation will be preparation for the Olympic Games.
She'll probably still be around in Beijing in 2008. What price? A Zhang gold medal there. Not here in Debrecen, though.
Her quality is spectacular, and so is her difficulty. All she needs practice on is delivering under pressure. This, her first major event, and I'm sure everybody's gutted, but and she's got a bit of a sore leg as the result of it. But I'm sure there would be great expectations for the future, but not for the present for the 16-year-old.
There's worries about her leg. She still has one semi-final to come. That's the floor. She qualified top for that, and she will only go in 7th place.
But that combination there, that's when she misses the foot. It was an aerial walkover into one arm flick. But I hate to say it, but that is quite common for gymnasts, so she'll recover. She'll recover well. Beautiful high double tuck. Most gymnasts who do layouts have scraped their thigh more than once on that skill. And to achieve the level of gymnastics that she's presenting, she'll be used to that kind of a scrape.
Well, she'll need to bounce back mentally as well as physically from that minor scrape ahead of the floor. She qualified 7th for the semi-finals on the A bars. Just missed out on a final place. Looks like missing out on a final place on the beam as well, but there are still 15 to come. We wait for her marks. Here they come, 8.387. I'll be astounded if that makes the final. Next up, the German Daria Bijak. Qualified back in 12th for the semi-finals. It was in Monaco. Confirmation of Jeanne's mark, and disappointment for her. She will be back though. We'll see her on the floor. Daria Bijak of Germany though, next to go. And it'll be preying on her mind that Zhang has had a bad routine, and sometimes just mentally, as we saw on the A-bars. The first few all started with problems.
Yes, it can affect one way or the other. Either, well, if a gymnast like that can fall off twice, I don't need to worry. Or if a gymnast like that falls off twice, gosh, what about me? There we go.
She just looked nervous, didn't she? She was looking at Zhang leaving the hall, and she didn't look focused. Semi-final of a world championship, you'd rather...
And that was a technical fall. She put her hand on the beam to prevent herself from falling, so she's already lost a mark. Now she has to pull herself together, though. She's demonstrating one of the things that judges are looking for, variation in levels. Harmonious connection between gymnastic and dance elements, and variation in direction, forward, backwards and sideways skills. And they have to travel as quickly as they can to get as much difficulty in the permitted 1 minute and 30 seconds. Oh, big dismount, double front. Great if you hit it, bad for the knees if you miss it.
Was 8th in the beam in the Europeans in Patras in Greece this year. 7th in the all-round. Actually, I tell a lie. That wasn't Bijak. But Monica, you coach girls this age, and it just must be very disappointing when they reach the semi-finals. They've done so well, and then just the mistake costs them dear at the crucial time. What do you say to them afterwards? Is it a case of just trying to pick them up, trying to restore confidence?
It depends on the individual. It depends what that individual's aspirations are for herself. I mean, if Bijak has done extremely well to get into the semi-final, then she's lost nothing. She's probably very pleased with herself to get as far as the top 16 in the world in this discipline. If her hopes were to get into the finals, you know, it's not necessary that you're in a semi-final and your hope is to get into the final. Some girls are quite satisfied to have got that far.
And then they can just relax and see how far they get.
Yes, and see how far they get. Nothing to lose if they've never been in that situation before. For others, like Zhang, there's huge pressure because she's got all the equipment, she's got everything, and all she's got to do is deliver. But she lacks the experience.
Well, not a good mark, I'm afraid, for Bijak. 7.925. It means Zhang is still in the lead, but there are still 14 to go. Confirmation, 7.925.
Of course, she had 2 falls. She fell off once, but put her hand on the beam and prevented herself from falling.
Yeah, technical fall, like a technical knockout in boxing.
And she lost on the big jump that she was doing. She lost the bonus points on that, so it affects her start value, and therefore there's a ricochet effect.
Elena Gomez, here we go. Qualified in 6th position, and she was 8th on the beam in Patras at the Europeans.
And that's how Zhang will have wished she'd done her mount. Very solid front somersault into back tumbling combination. Side somersault. And Gomez is a very good beam worker. That's a difficult grand jeté, difficult 180-degree turn with jump. Hesitation there in that combination, and a technical fall from her too. Loses the full 5/10 because she holds the beam to prevent her demise to the floor. Full twisting Corbett. Very bold change leg side. At a D element, the gymnasts having to produce 3 Cs, B elements and 4 A elements, and an attempt at a full twisting straddle jump, which is a D element, which wouldn't have got counted. So already aspiring to do a 10 start value, and it's petering away from her because she's made several errors which will affect that value. 2.5 twist dismount from the round off, but nevertheless, despite the errors, there's no two ways about it. Elena Gomez from Spain is excellent beam worker, and the immense pressure to produce such a high level of work without any errors at this World Championship. You have to be practically superhuman. Big skill, very big skill, but slight imbalance, and she'll get a penalty for that. 2.5 twist. She didn't have a very good plant from the round off to get an exact dismount. But she too will be down in the 8s as a result of that routine, with the technical fall and the penalties. So
yes, 3 down, and no one's really put down a gauntlet so far.
So
8.387 is the top mark so far. Gomez will have expected better. What she's got is 8.750. That does put her in the lead so far.
And her start value was really hammered, 9.7. Her intention would have most certainly been to deliver a 10, but some of her bonus elements did not count.
So, confirmation, 8.750, the mark of Gomez, does put her provisionally in first position. And so to Evgenia Kuznetsova of Bulgaria. 21 years of age. Qualified 11th for these semi-finals, but a veteran once again of many major championships: Atlanta Olympics, World Championships in Ghent and Tianjin and Lausanne and Shanghai, and Europeans in Patras and St. Petersburg.
Great to see a Bulgarian in this final too. One in vault and one in beam, and a spectacular start, rather time consuming. On her hands a long time. Well executed full turning jump from the change leg split. So far, only one minor hesitation.
European beam champion in her hometown of St. Petersburg back in 1988. And it is her favorite piece of apparatus. Yes, was living in St. Petersburg back in '98, has since moved back to Sofia.
Full turning flip. Just look how narrow the beam is. Only 10 centimeters. Demonstration of the flexibility and balance required on this discipline. A good plant there into a big dismount double back pike. And that certainly was excellently landed.
Yes, once represented Russia, now representing Bulgaria. Member of the silver medal winning Russian team at the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta. She said of that competition, the crowd was the worst thing, the judging was the second worst. So she got a silver medal. .8.850 her mark.
She might dislike these judges even more then.
I wonder what she thinks of the crowd. So, Yoyoba once again of Russia. A very daring beam gymnast. Qualified in second place for the semi-finals. Remember, the top 8 go through.
Big combination. Free walkover forwards into one with half turn. Hesitation after the 1.5 twist jump. Hard skill. And another hesitation before that jump. And I highlight these because the whole skill of beam is to actually link things together, and it is very important that the links are direct, otherwise they lose their value. Not quite making that crossways flick to handstand. Must sometimes have 2 jumps linked together, and having broken the combination, I'm sure she just popped that in the routine. A strategy that is often implemented by gymnasts. 2.5 twist dismount.
And arguably the favourite for the gold medal now, especially after Zhang's demise in the semi-final. Already we've seen her qualify for the final in, I think, 4th place on the A bars, or the U bars if you're from the United States. Uneven or asymmetric, take your pick.
And this series very, very difficult and very well executed.
Ah, 3rd place, we've just had it confirmed. On the A bars. Almost certainly take provisional 1st place on the beam.
Yes, she certainly stayed on, but I wouldn't consider that she wouldn't consider that it was one of her best ever routines, but certainly most successful so far.
Yes, and all she needs to do, remember, is make it into that top 8. Marks are not carried forward into the final.
Yes, a set against her own standards, not particularly good, but as set against the standard of the present competition, it was an excellent routine.
Yes, silver in the beam in Ghent in 2001 in the World Championships. Probably just about done enough to qualify for the final.
Yes, I would suspect she's got a comfortable transition to the final. She's certainly one of the best beam workers in the world, and only a couple of errors of rotation on her flick and minute wobbles, but the judges obviously spending some time discussing between the panels A and B. The panel A will decide on the difficulty of the exercise. In other words, they'll define the start value. and panel B will be deciding on the execution. So 9.612, yes, a very easy transition into the final, and by far in the lead thus far.
Well, the only one whose mark starts with a 9 so far. Irina Yarodska of the Ukrainer's Yayova's mark is confirmed, 9.612. "17 years of age, from Kiev."
And very much a favourite combination. It's a flavour of the day combination, that change leg split into full twisting tuck jump, and most of the gymnasts achieving it. Again, a flick-flack into Mustapanova. It's an Arabian take-off with a walkover. Clean combination into the side somersault. Aerial walkover and aerial cartwheel combination, or side somersault straight. That's a debatable choice for the judge to make. Depends very much on whether or not they elected it as a cartwheel or a side somersault, because one is much more difficult than the other. This routine going extremely well. Long and elegant. 2.5 twist. Step backward on landing, about the only major error in the whole exercise. So very, very clean. She was cool as a cucumber. She didn't look hassled at all pressured.
Already through to the final on the A-bars in 6th position, 9.337, just behind Beth Tweddle of Great Britain. No British gymnast in the semi-final of the beam. We will see Korkina again. Not her speciality, the beam, I think it's fair to say. But she'll be trying to make the final there too. But Yarodska, who qualified in 8th position for the semi-final, she'll be very pleased. Apart from the landing, pretty good. How will the judges make that decision in the middle? You were talking about, was it a cartwheel, was it a side somersault? Just a feeling.
Well, I think that they'll give it a side somersault, but it will depend very much on how she planted the first foot, which I didn't really notice. Her hips were definitely sideways, but if her landing foot was facing backwards rather, I'll give it cartwheel. But if it was planted sideways, they'll give it as a side somersault, which will lift the value of the combination. 9.075, start value 9.5.
Well, it does put her in 2nd place on the judges. And there are, 10 to go. So nervous old wait for Yarodska. She's in one final on the A-bars.
It's a very clean, harmonious exercise. And I don't know whether we'll have that many better than that. A very good leg line, good posture all the way through.
Tatiana Zharanova just scraped in to the final that we just saw on the bars.
Aggressive tumbling combination after the free walkover. And so she's got a failed jump and a technical fall. to her debut so far. But this girl, definitely a mean machine. Under no circumstances was she going to part the beam from her feet, and she clung on, sticking a leg in the air and converting it into a needle stand. She really had a lot of presence of mind. Great admiration for fighters.
Yeah, she'll have been coming here hoping for at least one medal. Either on the bars or on the beam. She has made it through to one final already. Member of the Ukrainian team since 1998, when Ukraine dominated the Europeans in St. Petersburg.
I just feel in comparison to what we've seen so far, she's a real fighter, but joint flexibility is quite poor, and so all of her skills aren't lavish. They don't finish. They're not fully executed. They don't have the amplitude of many of the other performers we've seen so far. So I would suspect that she'd come up rather badly on execution.
Jaranova awaits her mark. Still no word yet from the judges. Remember, 2 panels of judges, an A panel and a B panel. The A sets the difficulty, B look for faults, A minus B equals final score.
Which is 8.475.
Which is disappointing.
Well, she only had a start value of 9.2. So she did lack in difficulty. But she doesn't seem too phased by it. Anyway, she knows that she could have had an 8.975.
Holland's great hope, Verona van der Leur. We've seen her a couple of times in the semi-finals already, on the vaults and on the A bars. Just scraped into the semi-final on the beam in 16th place.
In fact, Vassos, she's the only gymnast who's qualified for all 4 finals. Whoops. And another gymnast meets the floor. I have a little note on my desk saying semi-finals, because I'm so unused to seeing gymnasts perform one at a time that I keep referring to this event as a final. My apologies. This is a semi-final, and Verona van der Leur has qualified for all 4 semi-finals.
And she is the only girl to do that. You will see the finals live here on Eurosport over the weekend. She did just make the final of the vault, but missed out on the bars. Still a floor to come for her, though. Good all-round gymnast. No good to her here, really, because it's individual apparatus only, these World Championships.
But I think that as the form hasn't been so good so far, we've had 4 or 5 gymnasts who have either fallen or had technical falls or both. And van der Leur had 1 fall, but the rest was a very clean and fluent routine. She could just sneak into the final, even with a fall.
Just a reminder then, it's Yeyova 9.612, Yarotska 9.075. No one else has broken the 9-point mark. After that, 8.850, 8.475 from Jaranova. So far, relatively low marks are in the positions for making the final. 5th place, 8.662. We're going to take one more break. And welcome back to Debrecen. World Championship Gymnastics here on Eurosport, and we're watching the semi-finals of the beam. Oksana Shushervatina of Uzbekistan.
She is so incredibly well balanced and so gutsy. Front somersault and a back somersault. Don't many gymnasts try that.
It's a 3-time Olympian, Oksana.
Double back tuck dismount, which is the statutory D for competition 3.
She's already a mother and a wife, but she just keeps on competing and winning medals at major championships. Back in '91, she was the world champion on floor and won silver on the vault. Competing in the vault here as well. 9.2, almost certainly good enough for a place in the final.
This is a stable second place.
Second place overall, behind Yayova, 9.612, the lead score, remember. Tatiana Yerosh of the Ukraine is the next to go.
And the next to go, literally.
Yes, we've seen rather a lot of that this afternoon. Nerves coming into play.
Absolutely. Seems to have settled down. Let's hope she can maintain. No, one fall, your heart rate goes up, your breathing gets uneasy, and come on. No, she's lost it.
Well, these by no means her first major championships. She's been in Sydney, Ghent, Tianjin in the World Championships. Europeans too, 3 of them.
But this is the hardest piece of apparatus. I mean, you have to train hard, be gutsy, and have nerves of steel to deliver some of the difficulty, and especially to deliver it under intense pressure. Just to harness your adrenaline and maintain your composure. Rather a long pause for this dismount, round off, back flip, double back somersault. That's a big dismount, and I think that she's really peeved about that. Some take their disappointments philosophically, but she is not. She's just plain gutted. And that's the round off straight back somersault, and she just tried to hang on. Look at the toes clawing the beam, yeah.
So just 3 scores, starting with a 9 so far. And we've now had 10 competitors. Yes, you're right, she does look disappointed. 2 falls off the beam.
And what is probably playing on her mind more than anything is the fact that so many gymnasts had fallen, and if ever she had a chance to get into a final, it was on today's performance. You know, some of the best gymnasts sort of fell by the wayside and bit the dust. And then, unfortunately, she joined them 8.125, which puts her right out of the picture.
I'm afraid it does, yes. 9.612, the lead score. That from Yayova. Now Romania's Oana Ban.
We could have, we've got Andrea Raducan to come, so we could have 2 very clean routines, because the Romanians are so positive on beam. It's fabulous acrobatic series there from Ban. Front into Cheng, which is like a Corbett flick-flack to chest roll, but with a meeting of the trunk and chest in the middle. Change legs, split one arm, flick into layout, and she's already done a backward acrobatic tumble that was super. A wobble on the full turn there. And that was great stuff. What a tumbler on beam. Treated it like a main road. Very, very solid and powerful.
Very nice from Oana Ban, one of 2 Romanians in the semi-finals. The other, Raducan. Plenty of you will have heard lots and lots about Raducan, especially since Sydney. We'll also see Korkina, who only just scraped into the semi-finals, but a wonderful gymnast. And certainly one who won't be fazed by all the falls and tumbles we've seen so far in the beam. She'll want to take full advantage.
Flick-flack twice before double tuck. She just slipped her hips. She started the somersault with the shoulders too far forwards, and so the backward double back didn't have enough travel away from the beam.
Perhaps she'd have hoped for a bit more, but all she needs to do is get through to the final, and that's exactly what she's done.
Oana Ban has received 9 points to 8, 7 points, which puts her.
Well, the girls now, I think that whilst we sit and give observations about why and how they fall, we must be mindful of the fact that now the intricacy and difficulty of some of the moves that the girls are adding together on beam, it's quite superb what they're achieving. That hesitation, you see, cost her 0.5, possibly a 10th. And to get a 10 start value on this piece of apparatus is very, very difficult. It means that 1.2 in bonus points has to be achieved. Here's a back tumbling series. So, not a series, it was an individual skill. She's certainly got a lot of moves, but not all of them are linked together. And this sorts out the difference between the good and the excellent.
or perhaps even the excellent and the whatever is one up from excellent. We must remember these are the best 16 in the world we're watching. Talking about falls, you're absolutely right. They are putting together very, very difficult routines.
Oh dear, I was just about to say, and there we have another finalist, and touches 2 hands on the floor, loses 5/10, and that could put her right out of the picture as regards the finals, but if she'd just got to feet, it would have put her right in there. What a shame.
Vasiliki Milousi from Greece, hometown of Athens. She's competed in Tianjin in the 1999 World Championships, also in Patras, in her home country, in the Europeans. And in the Europeans in Paris as well. So she's had some experience. 14th she qualified for the semi-finals, and a place in the final would be absolutely sensational for her. She's not made one before in a major competition like this.
She responded very well to the pressure because she had lots of difficulty in the exercise, and I'm sure that with more training and perhaps a little higher level of fitness, which she looks as though she could probably do with, she could link them together and become even better.
Well, no question what this is preparation for, in her eyes. 2004 Athens Olympic Games in her home city. She's 18 years old now. She'll be 20 just come 2004 and the next Olympic Games. The latest word coming out of Athens is that finally things are moving on. Finally, stadia are getting built, and there should be a games to be proud of for the Greeks. 8.300 for Milousi. That won't be good enough. Already down in 10th place. But as you say, until that dismount, she could have been in the mix-up. Ashley Postel of the United States of America.
This exercise is very, very impressive as regards its continuity. Smooth routine. Full twisting, flick, flick, lovely combination. She has quite a different style. Full twisting, tuck, flick, quarter twist. Shows high level of confidence, and this is really what the judges are looking for. They don't want to see monotonous routines, they want to see confident, bold and flowing routines. Finishing off with a triple twist. Now that was, in my opinion, spectacular in as much that it was so flowing. Her leg line not brilliant, but the difficulty she handled well, and the whole exercise was so continuous.
Yes, we saw her in the vault semi-finals and qualified fourth in the world for the semi-finals in the beam. And nice to see a big grin as well halfway through her routine. She landed her combination, and just nice to see them enjoying their gymnastics even on this big stage.
Well, there's no two ways about it that she'll go into the final on that. Full twisting, flick into flick layout. And then she has some really interesting combinations throughout the exercise. Lovely plant from the round off. Well, I said triple twist, it was at least 2 7/8.
Travelled long distances to support her. Ashley Postel, 16 years of age.
I have to say that the Americans in the crowd have taken the criticism about their noise at events very seriously, because I've hardly ever heard them today. I think it affected their popularity on the international stage, and so they've all quietened down, which is a shame, because I think don't like to see their spirit totally dampened.
Not absolutely full, this hall. It will be over the weekend for the finals. Be sure of that. Brand new, purpose-built. Last one, sadly, was destroyed by fire. It's always nice to be in a brand new stadium. The marks come up for Postel, 9.612. That puts her in joint first place, or in second place, if you believe that graphic, but I'm pretty sure it's joint first. And so Andrea Raducan, she'll be bowing out of the sport after this week's World Championships. 19 years old. And famously crowned Olympic champion. The first Romanian since the famous Nadia Comaneci to win the coveted all-round title, until she was stripped of it a few hours later for failing a drugs test. She took an over-the-counter cure for a common cold.
Unfortunately, it looks like that she might be out of the final now. Fall on that full twisting back somersault and a wobble on another length. Just depends how the rest of the exercise goes. Going to flick out.
Well, so far, a score over 9 is good enough. Still to come, Corkina and Colombo.
She won't make a 9 on this exercise, for sure. She might make it very nearly. 8.9, very much more womanly than when we last saw her, but still delivering some great difficulty. The only gymnast so far to have done a full twisting back somersault on the beam, but didn't quite stick it. And I'd be surprised if her score began with 9 on that, but I think she'll get very near it.
Very unlucky in Sydney to be stripped of that gold medal, but I guess rules is rules. And she bounced back well to lead Romania to gold in the Team World Championships in Belgium last year.
And there she goes. What a shame. Big skill. Very big skill. But she goes on to produce more. Lovely combination into that double pike. But she'd already had a bit of a wobble before that.
Well, only 5 gymnasts so far have scored over 9. She scores 8.675. Which I believe puts her in 8th place overall, but 2 still to come. Yes, 8th place, 8.675. Next up, the very famous face of Svetlana Corkina.
And what an entrance. Spectacular mount with the full turn, preceded by a flick-flack and straight somersault. Oops. A couple of tenths for that wobble, but uncharacteristic of her. Tuck back somersault into flick and then full twisting Corbett. Only one mini crisis to date for her. Aerial walkover. That's a new inclusion in recent months from Svetlana. And just great to see. Oh, lovely 2.5 twist from the one-legged takeoff from the end, and there her coach Boris Pilkin, who absolutely adores her despite her temper tantrums and mood swings when things aren't going quite right, because she may be a queen on form, but she certainly can be quite sultry when she's off form, for sure.
The price of genius, but for those of you who perhaps missed or can't remember Sydney 2000, she won her second Olympic title on the uneven bars, or the asymmetric bars. She gave away her place in the vault final to her younger teammate, who went on to win the vault, and then went on to beat Corkina into second place on the floor. And who can forget that famous fall during the team event on the bars. But a great performer. Already, of course, through to the final on the A bars here in Debrecen.
Yes, and I think she's just pushed Raducan out of her 8th place for the final on beam.
Almost certainly. 9.462 is at the third best score we've seen. Only one gymnast to go, the Italian Ilaria Colombo. So we will be seeing plenty more of Svetlana Corkina here in Hungary. 2 finals reached so far. She really is. She really is a superstar.
And you know, Boris and she have just a superb friendship. He knows when to say something and when to just stay away. These women, he says.
The last semi-finalist on beam, Ilaria Colombo, 16 years of age, from Italy.
Very positive. Not easy for her, following the queen of the sport onto the apparatus. She's going very boldly. Sheep jump after the change leg split. And she does look at home on the beam, that's for sure.
Qualified in 3rd place for the semi-finals. In 5th place, I should say.
And this is a dimension that the judges take into account. How much at one they are with their apparatus. Their style and performance suits their ability and physique. Well, if she keeps going like this, I think that she could earn herself a final place. Thick, yes. Well, that's going to be a very close call. I reckon that she could have pushed herself into the beam final with that exercise, because other than a little shortage on flexibility in areas, she had no crises. very solid. It was an excellent tempo. She looked very comfortable and confident.
Well, I'll tell you, the score she's aiming at is 8.850.
Well,
És ezzel a női középszintűben a gerenda verseny véget ért, hamarosan a talaj verseny következik.
Természetesen, ahogy megkapjuk Hilária Formbó eredményeit, elmondjuk majd, hogy ki volt az a 8, vagy 9, az a 8, aki...
She thinks she's done enough. The top 8 go through to the final.
well, we're just awaiting her score.
And she is the last to go on the beam. You can see the nerves. Glitter or no glitter around those eyes. She is nervous. Nothing yet from the judges. Plenty more to come from here in Debrecen on Eurosport and British Eurosport, including the men's semi-finals. 6 apparatus for the men. And she has done it. I can tell you that Colombo is through to the final. 9.275 is good enough. She doesn't know yet. She will soon.
And she made it so comfortably. Absolutely, that's fantastic. That was superb performance to follow Corkina and deliver that level of gymnastics.
In fact, the two who have followed Corkina so far, Beth Tweddle, who followed Corkina on Corkina's apparatus, and Colombo on the beam, have both done themselves proud, and they can, well, they can't celebrate too hard. They still have a final to come. So confirmation, first equal, Postel and Yeova, 9.612. Those the 8 who qualify for the final. So as I was saying, plenty more gymnastics to come here on Eurosport from Hungary. Debrecen, some 220 kilometers away from Budapest, the capital. But from Monica Phelps and myself, Vassos Alexander, thanks for your company, and we'll see you soon. Time, in fact, just to remind you that we'll be back today. Later on, that's with the men's semi-finals. The floor routines still going on. We'll bring you those results as well. But that really is all we've got time for on Eurosport. See you again.